really neat.
I know. Sorry, I'm late. Hello there, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello.
Running over here. Coming over. Here I come.
There's light.
There we go. Get some focus. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hi, my love.
Hello, everybody at home. Get set up over here. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back.
Here we are. Welcome back.
That's the Mrs. Ryan Phil.
Oh, hi, guys.
Excuse me. There we go. All right. Got the coffee, got the cards, got the Ryans. Get to come in here just a little bit. That looks very nice. All right. I think we're set up now.
Here we go.
Good evening and welcome back, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans, and this is tonight's show. I am excited for a million reasons today, Mrs. Ryan. We'll start with that it's like Thanksgiving break. It's like the kids at school when, it's Wednesday and it's about noon. So we're about to get on the bus in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Yes. With all of our handmade turkey.
Yeah, exactly. All our arts and crafts. Our guest got here a little bit early, so we've been shooting the shit in the green room, and I already feel like we know each other, and I feel like this is going to go just fine. So not worried about that at all. Today, our guest is a gentleman named Mark Pitta. You probably know that name from the world of comedy. If not, you are going to recognize this man's face when he comes in and sits down. Working in comedy forever. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but I watched him as I grew up a fan of comedy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He just threw up again in the green room.
Yeah.
And he's actually been on the Tonight Show, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of a cool thing for us.
I think we were trying to do the math, and we both are bad at math, but we figured that out, and we figured out we probably met at a junket years ago, but it's so,
when you were with a different client type of thing? Gotcha.
Yeah, we used to do junkets for TV shows back then more constantly than the films that we do now. It was a different way to talk about the shows and the longevity and the different stories and whatever. So we always had fun times at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills.
Oh, that's right. He was saying he always knew where the free food was.
Yeah.
That's somebody who has been to a junket before.
Yes.
Anyway, so we're gonna have him in here in a little bit, and that's gonna be fun for everybody. In the meantime, Mrs. Ryan, there's very little business to get to, but we do have to get to it. Let us check in first over on the East Coast with Danbury Chive.
Here we go.
And the East Coast feed. Let's roll it, Hal.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan.
Hey.
It's the East Coast feed live with Steve Kaz and Brooke.
Hi.
She's the new girlfriend, if I haven't introduced her yet, just in case you didn't know. So we didn't do it when we were at the theater, but we just left Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. 7 hours of Harry Potter.
I've been listening to this accent all night.
Right, she just didn't appreciate all my English.
No.
Just letting you know. But now we're in the car. We just came out of the drive. Gonna go visit Jasmine. Quick beverage, and then we're back to Connecticut. Love you guys. We're listening to some Quick Love Manhattan. We're driving the Demon here on 45th Street. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
There you go. All right, love you guys.
Bye.
All right, I mean, he's growing on me. You know what I mean? There's still no explanation. I've not been fulfilled in anything I've been asking for by any means.
No.
But I found that to be quite cute. I found it to be
cute.
adorable. They had a nice banter going back and forth. I mean, there was definitely a chemistry there, which I hadn't seen previously.
Yeah.
But what's the deal? Where'd she come from?
I don't know.
She looks young. I don't care about that, but she looks young. Let's address it.
Yes, it seems there's a distinct shift in the tone of the videos, and that's what I can't put my finger on.
Okay. What do you think? You think he's happier? Do you think he's trying harder? Is it phony? Is it more real? What is it?
I don't find it to be phony or more real. I find it to be a compartmentalized difference of his life. In this one, I just don't know about this part.
Wow.
So it just feels different.
And it's only because it's that we have to fill in all these blanks.
Yes.
It's not because, we know all the pieces and we don't like her. That ain't it. She seems awesome. I think I'm going to like her a lot. It's not that.
This is how, like, you can, I think we said it when with that actor on Ozark that we like, Jason Bateman. You can put him in a comedy, you can put him in a drama, saying the same words, and it's about the context of what's being said sometimes. And that's what I feel like that is. Like, you could change the music underneath any of his videos and get different sentiments.
It's funny. My assessment of Ozark, that was, I'm not saying that about Jason Bateman in general. I think the show Ozark is fantastic. I'm like, it's my new obsession. But I happened to say that somebody said, oh, Jason Bateman's amazing on it. And when I watched it, I think he's great. I think he's always great. But he's playing the exact same character as Michael Bluth. They're just treating it as if it's not a comedy.
Totally. That's just writing. You change the context of the
they're treating it as a drama instead of thinking in her. Anyway, good for you, Mrs. Ryan. Good for us. Good for everybody. It's Thanksgiving.
Putting the pieces together just in time for the holiday break.
Speaking of which, it is a late Thanksgiving show. I wanted to talk about yesterday. The Jimmy Jelinek show was awesome. That was one of my favorite ones to do, and I hope that it was enjoyable to watch. It was sort of talk show inside out because it was like, oh, we were talking, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like having the meeting about the show on the show.
Yeah.
And something about that appealed to me because it was like our whole goal on this was to sort of pull the curtain back and let people in on how these old talk shows were done because people don't do this anymore, including the actual shows that used to do this.
Right.
So, et cetera, et cetera. It was kind of neat to, I don't know, just sort of show more of the ingredients to everybody.
I was just talking with a colleague, mutual colleague of ours, and
Ruth Hilton. You mentioned her on the show with Jimmy yesterday.
And just you guys are both you and Jimmy have said and seem like you lived in a different era sometimes. Like, he did everything really early, you did everything early, and then coming back. So
I learned early, and then I seemed to take a break during a time when it was no longer applicable. It was no longer like this stuff was not usable in the world, but it always was going to be again one day because the whole thing is cyclical. All of this stuff is. Letterman, when he started his show, was really doing like the old what's his name? You know, the Tomorrow's Steve Allen stuff, and much more things like that, and people that he celebrated from when he was at that
not
age,
even
taking
the
in
more
all the
recent ones like Carson, but like the ones that he grew.
Yeah, I think he talks about Arthur Godfrey, who was one of those people who just, had a big old microphone like this kind of thing, and he was a broadcaster. I think that's why Dave always liked Larry King and the likes of Tom Snyder and stuff.
Yeah. He relates on like a different not pop level that I think you and Jimmy share too. And
Jimmy Jelinek.
Yeah, from yesterday. So it's neat always to hear you guys talk because it's not superficial. It's like real deep.
Thanks. Well, whatever. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it back because, as is with every conversation, you don't remember every second of every single thing. So it's kind of neat when you have a conversation with somebody that you do respect and that you kind of want to remember every single thing, to be able to go back and like watch it and find out exactly what they said and be able to.
That's cool.
Take the knowledge back. No, I'm saying we're very lucky to have this forum to be able to do such a thing.
That's true.
Anyway, the funny thing was after that show was over, we sat exactly where we were once the lights were off for another 45 minutes and talked about what we could actually do. And I think we ended up finding some common ground and getting on the same page. But it was pretty funny, the non-debate that was still occurring. Yeah,
I think he fights with himself intellectually sometimes, and it's hilarious to watch. So. I can't wait to have him back again. I just love that guy.
Me too. This whole thing. It's all happening, folks. Hashtag it's all happening. Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind.
Ooh, da-dun-da-dun.
What's going on? Da-da-da-dun-dun,
well, what's going on is that I threw out my earlier news card by accident.
Oh, man, I've done that. I've done that. Is that why you were rewriting it over there with the guest?
Frantically, yeah, because I had I make multiple note cards. That's how I get it in my brain, and I just threw it. I did it before I saw Ruth, and then I threw it out somehow. I have no idea.
Happens.
So, fingers crossed.
It'd be funny if I drew on the back of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, we're good.
It's other people are adopting.
Hang on. What are we doing? This is what's going on. I felt the need to reopen it and freshen it up.
People are seemingly adopting a lot of our things, like with dark mode is now being found to be like easier on the eyes and the iPhone batteries.
It always was. I have a conspiracy theory on all of this shit, but I don't know if we want to open it today. But yes, obviously all of that stuff, the less of that screen light in your face, the better your neurological system.
Well, yes. And
hence my whole app that I came up with. That Apple now does.
Well, I just would like to matriculate the message that dark screens are better. And so, because social media is finally getting on board.
Oh.
They're finally saying, sure, like, well, and they're doing it because millennials tend to have like 8 screens open and like that's the bright one. So
that's what okay.
That's what they're saying.
My theory is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me?
I don't know, because it's one of those conspiracy theory type things, and I don't want to become a show that's known for that or a guy that's known for that, because I'm really not that guy.
Okay.
But there are a lot of people that we're watching a show. Even we watched the newsroom the other day. They talk about phone hacking, and you can access the phone, the camera, and all of the theoretically the phones are listening to you and everything because of the access that you grant all of the apps that are on your phone, etc. Facebook would like access to your microphone and your camera and whatever because you need it to take pictures and your camera roll and all that stuff. But you're also giving it access, anyway, etc., etc. Well, all of these white screens are light sources that light up faces, rooms, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as someone who does this for a living, capturing live events and redistributing them, you need a lot of light for that.
That's a good point.
No, I'm not saying it's a point. I'm just saying that
it's a good angle, and it's a good angle.
When I'm looking at my phone and that LED light, you know what I mean? I can't look at my phone straight on because it's shooting light into my eyes. So you have to hold it at an angle and all that crap. And that's just, it's whatever. It's why I don't like any of these things in the first place.
Well, then dark mode is your deal. And so thank you, social
Dark mode's my
media,
jam.
for getting
Right, Mark
on
Pitta?
board. Thank you.
Is that what it was, jam, earlier? Is that what it was? No, that's how I roll. Oh, that's how I roll. That's how Mark Pitta rolls.
It's been, I was looking up I wish I had my card. MS, they're doing some more research, obviously, and they're now like validating that Epstein-Barr is probably a major contributing factor to it. So one of the studies they're doing to reconfirm that is they're stripping some of the immune system genes of the Epstein-Barr, like the dormant part of it that's in some of the B cells, to see if that actually does help. And they're finding that there's neurological improvement and motor function improvement when they do that.
That sounds amazing.
It's awesome. It's really amazing, but it goes to what you were saying, or what you always tell me, of like sleep and energy, and like
Zoom
that's
out.
really what it's about.
A lot of these things are symptoms, and people are treating them as problems. Oh, we're going to nip this in the bud. It's like, no, you're not. You're, watering canning on a symptom.
Yeah.
That's not it. It's going to put the fire out of ish, but you're not solving the problem.
No. And so Epstein-Barr is like commonly known. It's the fatigue, chronic fatigue, like
is that
precursor.
True?
Yeah.
Epstein-Barr is like a precursor to chronic fatigue, so that falls in the same.
Yeah. It's
I
one of the
never knew that.
markers.
I always thought it was a very severe thing.
It's a pretty severe thing when you have it, but they test you for it for the marker.
Yeah, forgive me. That made it sound like I was making light of Epstein-Barr. I didn't mean that. I meant when I worked on Felicity, the joke was the bar. So the bar set we all had, it was named the Epstein Bar. And it was like a joke, whatever the heck. And it seemed like, it was really, ironic and whatever, because you're naming a bar out of this horrible illness or whatever. It's the AIDS, I don't know, room. Terrible. All right, bail out. Just get out of here. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden it sounds like, chronic fatigue is one of those things that falls under fibromyalgia and all of the other things that are similar to that. And I don't know. It's why are the name? I guess I don't know much about it. I don't know enough about it.
Basically, Epstein. It's again. This is one of the problems that we run into when people just name shit instead of like what it really is. When they want it, like their name on it, so that they're famous for finding something. Great.
Published and
except
stuff.
Yes. Epstein-Barr was something that they tested us for when I was a kid. Like 10 or 11
Really?
because they found that someone on my swim team had it and got in the water. And so they tested all of us.
Like tuberculosis or
Yes,
something like
it's
that?
one of those things that is dormant in most people. And I think something triggered in
No
me.
kidding. Like polio almost if you go far back.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So
All right.
if you know about Epstein-Barr, it's like when people don't get chickenpox when they're a kid, but they get shingles or however that works. It's all like that.
Cool. Awesome. Well,
So-
sorry for the speed bumps there, but thanks for walking me through it.
Well, heads up, that's how it goes. So
No, I appreciate it.
a company was going to drill on the sea floor somewhere. I forget where. It was on my other card. But what they found, what they discovered and what paused them from doing it is that there was a whole seafloor ecosystem with a bacteria that absorbs and ingests carbon dioxide, which I thought was super neat. The implications of that are pretty fantastic.
I'm so with you. And again, I say as above, so below. Whatever
Yeah.
you think life we have going on here, believe me, it is going on at least as much down there.
Yeah, like nature figured
And I
out
think
how
a
to...
lot more because it's... and I think they're the ones rebelling against us. Like the movie The Abyss.
I totally agree. There was another bacteria in Antarctica that was found to ingest and consume methane gas, so it didn't go in the atmosphere. It's like bacteria. Not that I want to be a bacteria necessarily, but they've figured out how to do stuff without making things do stuff. It's super fascinating. And the last one is that almost everything I studied in psychology in college might be crap. They're throwing out a lot of psychological studies because none of them can be repeated to get the same results. There's like 28 main ones that kind of created the foundation of a lot of sociological conditions that we put on.
This is a time thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it was neat at the time when that was our sample group, but the sample group is so much larger now that really is just log data that can be purged at this point. Is that correct?
They're really
Is that the theory behind
that's
it?
part of it. They're understanding samples better, like where you're pulling from. Like, is it just college kids that you're studying, or are you doing the whole city? So they're looking at a lot of things, but essentially, a lot of psychological foundational theories are questionable now.
Okay.
So it's a nice. A lot of it's there, like a lot of it's common sense, but it's helping psychologists figure out what is common sense versus what's something that they manifested in a study scenario. So it's neat to look at too. Da-dun-da-dun.
Oh, that's it. And that's been What's Going On.
I don't think that'll ever get old.
Well, not for you. That's why I keep doing it. I'm sure everyone else is sick as hell of it, but you laugh every time, so I have to keep doing it.
You don't have to.
No, I have to keep doing it. That's my draw of like, oh, well, she laughs. Well, now you must keep doing it. I'm not saying it's right. All right, Mrs. Ryan, that was awesome. Let's take a break, and before our holiday vacation here, we'll get Mark Pitta in. We'll have some laughs with him, hear some awesome talk show stories and other celebrities. He's got some of the best celebrity stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And in my mind, he's a bit of a celebrity, so it's not like, you know what I mean? But he specifically said, I love telling my celebrity stories. So we've got a bunch of pictures to back up this stuff.
Oh,
It's
good.
going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It'll be fun to gab.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, we'll be right back. More to come. Mark Pitta will be here.
Yeah, still the same. Can't you feel the pain? When the needle hits the vein, ain't nothing like the real thing. I've seen it once before, and know it's something else. Good God, cool breeze, come on in. Sunshine, come on down. You have the teardrops of a cow. The circus is coming to town. All I'm saying is sometimes I'm more scared of myself. You better. I said, run away. taste that pain.
I feel like Warren Zevon's about to walk in.
Oh, that'd
He
be
was always
the
on.
That would have
greatest.
been magic. I wish he was
Warren
still alive.
Zevon, you know, I have that T-shirt. The
Which one?
Enjoy every sandwich.
You
t-shirt.
do?
Yeah, because that was just. You ever read the book about him, of the oral history of him, called "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead," and
We're talking about Warren Zevon. We're back here.
oh.
We're with Mark Pitta. No, we're on. We're just doing it. F it.
Well-
the lights came on. I say let's go.
well, the David Letterman death reminded me of Warren Zevon.
Yeah.
He was on a lot, and actually,
Very good friend of the show, right?
when he was dying, the entire show was he was the only guest.
I remember
You know
that. Yeah.
was a
I
biggie.
told you about that when we were in Hawaii, our first time when we had just met. Somehow it came up. It's
Yeah.
a song on the radio or something. And we ended up like YouTubing that episode and watching the whole thing, bawling our eyes out that
I
night
remember.
in
I
Hawaii.
The whole time.
I read I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, and they talk about his ADD and ADHD, whatever. And he said that he would go to a store and buy like 10 Calvin Klein gray T-shirts, and in the rafters. And then they drive, and like 5 miles later, he goes to a mall. Let's go in there, like get some T-shirts. He goes, "You just got 10 T-shirts." He goes, "Not from there." And then when he died, there was just a closet full of unopened T-shirts.
Wow.
Oh.
What's the reasoning?
He's compulsive.
Love T-shirts. Man, that guy loved T-shirts.
Watch anything that he's on. He always wears white or gray or black.
Oh, that's.
He's
what
always
he-
wearing gray. So maybe this is a tribute.
Yeah, you did good there.
Yeah, yeah.
job,
Warren Zevon
You look
tribute.
very good, Mark
My
Pitta.
favorite part of that story, though, is his son's job was to, after he died, get rid of his porn. But it wasn't a porn collection. It was Warren's personal porn. And his son's job was to get rid of it. And now, wasn't that on...
Is that true?
Wasn't that on Curb Your Enthusiasm? Where Jeff Garland's saying, "If I die, get rid of my porn."
Oh,
Yes.
that was an episode.
Yeah, and that was so that was Warren Zevon's son's job.
Wow.
I wonder
That's amazing.
who's in there.
All right. Well, we started with the Letterman desk right off the bat. So, I mean, you've been working in comedy for your whole life. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, since I was 23, and that's late, man. All my other friends were 19, 20, 21.
Kid.
Really?
But when is your birthday, Jay?
September.
Oh, because I was gonna do the, Drew Barrymore.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Let's see if this works.
There we go.
Oh my God.
It's happening. Oh, my goodness.
I didn't flash.
Well, it happened.
Now that's
Happy Thanksgiving.
that was worth coming here just to
oh,
do that.
my goodness gracious.
And the fact you didn't stop me, I go, I guess
Why
I can
would
handle
I?
180 pounds.
Why would I?
There's no stopping.
No one's done that.
No, I haven't done that. No
No
one's
one's
done
done
that.
that yet.
No, that's awesome.
Okay.
I wish we had an audience. Or at least Eddie
Let's
Brill
pause because they'd be laughing. Just let's pause for that.
over there. Wave up at them for your. That was a good job.
I always liked on that show, Dave would go, "What's Eddie wearing?" And it was just something they didn't even tell him they were going to do. Like, "Eddie, after the break, just stand right there." And he'd stand there and he goes, "It's time to play. What's Eddie wearing?"
Eddie
and they'd
Brill?
show Eddie what he was wearing.
Oh, that's so funny.
He didn't even know they were going to do it.
That's so funny. He was. We're talking about he was a warm-up guy at, and was he a writer too? I think.
And he booked the comics.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Oh
so he
my
was
God.
a booker as well, but he did the warm-up for that show.
He was the Jim
for
McCauley of
always.
Letterman.
No
And Jim
kidding.
McCauley, of course, for your listeners, or actually viewers. This seems like a podcast.
We've had Rick Overton here, who basically played that character on the show.
Hey, pal. That's my Rick Overton impression. We always have to,
Do it
when
again. There's
you
your
tell,
camera.
which is my camera?
No, you're 4 right over there.
Hey, pal. Now, I remember when we had an earthquake in L.A. and was that 90 or?
Are you talking about this when they all?
Yeah,
went under the
no.
desk?
No, Rick used to have a joke on stage. He goes, well, everybody's talking about the earthquake because we had a fucking earthquake. That's his rhythm. And he won't get mad at me. No.
No. Share the Rick Overton love. That is hilarious.
I've never seen Rick Overton mad unless it was a script. So he's a very wonderful guy.
And we love Rick Overton. Hi to Rick Overton.
Welcome back to the Rick Overton Love Fest.
We should do that. He should have his own podcast. We've told him that.
Let's pretend he's here.
Just go get him. Let's go drive over and see him.
Warren Zevon out of here.
You ever did Letterman or no? You did Leno.
I did Leno. I met Letterman once. You were talking about that old studio in New York was 5 at 5 shot there.
Yeah, Live at 5.
Live at 5. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And Live at 5.
It's Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show now.
Right. And where Tiny Tim got married. That's the
right.
same studio.
In 1969.
I remember when I was visiting.
Look at you. You can't throw me off. To who?
Oh.
Miss Vicky.
Miss Vicky. But you know, it's funny. Jimmy Fallon, I did a podcast once, and I went over to the Tonight Show and had him be a guest, and he goes, "That's where Tiny Tim and Vicky got married." I said, "Oh, I remember watching that," and the look on his face was like, "You're that old?" You know, my hair wasn't gray, and but he didn't know that that was 69.
Well,
right?
how old is he now? Yeah, it was 1969 for sure, and I know that one.
Yeah. So
for
I
a
was
weird
watching
fact.
it, you know, as a kid, because I don't know, I watched the Tonight Show really early on.
Well, that sounds interesting. Maybe we share a similar background there. At what age did you pick up talk? Like
probably high school.
Same
because
here.
I remember walking to school the next day with my friend Dan, who also watched it, and we would talk about the episodes. If it was something like the egg throwing with Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds and stuff like that. In fact, I remember walking to school and I threw an egg at my friend, hoping he had seen the show. So.
You, speaking of which, I have pictures here of both Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds. Do you want to see either one? Is there a story?
Well,
to
the
go
Burt
with either
Reynolds one is recent, obviously.
Yeah, well, I saw that. Should I put that up?
Sure. This is me and Burt. Now, this is across the street from the Cinematheque in Hollywood. I forget the name of the bar, but there's a sign in neon by the bathroom. It says something. Now, I can't quote it now, but my memory's going. But something about cocaine. But it's a neon. It's a beautiful neon thing. And anyway, forget that part of the story. That's just a bar. So my friend John goes, "Hey, Burt Reynolds is coming to the Cinematheque, which is the Egyptian, and they're showing his new movie. And then for the whole weekend, he's going to be there talking about his old movies and showing them." I'm like, "Buy me a ticket."
Is this The Last Action Here or whatever it was called?
The Last Movie Star.
The Last Movie Star.
Yeah. And so I go see the movie, and Bert's there, and luckily it's a good movie. It's a B movie.
It's on Amazon if anybody wants to see it. I just watched it recently.
Not a lot of
Fantastic.
money, but wasn't Bert good in that?
Yeah, he's great. It's probably the best thing he did, and it's the last thing he did.
Unbelievable. There were 3 scenes. I'm like, wow, that's not even a Bert I know. That guy he just nailed it. Anyway, so after the show, walking back to our car, and I go, "John, what's that bar over there?" "I don't know. I'm gonna go in there." So I walk in, there's free drinks, pretty girls are bringing me free food. I'm like, "This is the after party." So I'm at the bar with the after party, and Burt is sitting there at a booth. And I go, "I'm going to meet Burt Reynolds." And of course, there's it's roped off, and people. Mary Lou Henner was sitting there, who I know her too. So when she was done, I talked to her.
Don't cross her; she'll remember it forever.
Oh, I always say, I said, last time I saw you was Robin Williams Memorial, and she says, "Yeah." And then she gives me the date. I go, "Don't do your parlor trick to me."
Yeah, you called it a parlor trick. Yeah. I don't know if you know that about her. She is like savanti.
She has
like everything, like dates and that was a Wednesday.
Memories. She has biographical memory. Only like 15 people have. So go to 60 Minutes on YouTube and put Mary Lou Henner, and you'll see they try to trip her up and they can't.
Oh, jeez.
And they give her the most obscure thing, and she just, as if it was yesterday. I was wearing that blue dress.
You were talking about that thing that happened to you where you recalled it and you could watch it back. She can just do that. She just has
that's just how it is.
She's got a hard drive.
Which she says is not good if it's a day that was not a good day in her life. Like
says
a boyfriend breaks up with her. She feels that all over
Someone
again.
dies, loses
Yeah,
a pet.
exactly. Yeah. So
sorry to make that about her, but
Well, she
Love
was
her.
there. I didn't get in with her, and I almost gave up. And then an hour later, I go, well, that person doesn't know Bert. Well, that person doesn't. So I waited. So Bert is like here, and I sneak in. I sit next to him. Now, perfect timing, because the director, Adam Rifkin, wants to say goodbye to him. And I kind of knew Adam Rifkin. I introduced myself to Adam Rifkin because he did a movie called Psycho Cop, starring, it doesn't matter who's starring in it, but that's where I met my wife, Melanie. But I was dating Julie at the time.
Oh boy.
And so after the movie was over and Julie and I broke up, Melanie either said, "Can I have your old boyfriend's number, or Julie says you should date my old boyfriend." It was one of those things.
Okay.
So Adam Rifkin directed that, and I mentioned that to him when I met him before the movie. I said, "Yeah, I married Melanie Good." He goes, "Congratulations." I go, "Well, we're divorced."
And did he say you married Melanie well?
Oh, he did not. But her last name is Good. But I call her the Good Wife. But
I don't get it.
Yeah. So the fact that I had introduced myself to him when he's saying goodbye to Bert, and this is so great, I said, "Could you introduce me? It's so much better." So now I'm getting introduced to Bert through the director.
From the director of the
so
film.
now
Yeah.
I'm like, got cred.
Yeah.
And all he says,
Now you can have a seat.
yeah. And I sat next to him, and I said, I've been a comedian for 38 years because I used to watch you on the Tonight Show. It made me want to be a comedian, which is half true, Bert, but also the other half, of course, is the stand-ups.
Yeah.
And you know, Bert said, he goes, "Congratulations on being successful so long." I said, "Yeah, I wrote a joke today. You want to hear it?" And here's what I did. I did not do a joke. I did not do a joke that I knew worked. I did a joke I just
fresh
wrote.
one?
And
Wow.
I'm going to try this out on Burt Reynolds. Because my fantasy watching that show was always to make Burt Reynolds laugh.
God, absolutely.
I always wanted to be Burt Reynolds' best friend because he has that way about him.
was a
Like, I want to
critic.
hang with that guy. You know.
Well, he's cool, but he's a critic. He wasn't going to tolerate subpar humor or anything.
Right. I read Sally's book too, but and he was very old-fashioned. He didn't like swearing. So he was a Vero guy. But I said the joke I said to him.
That's surprising.
I whispered in his ear and I said, "Yeah, I'm seeing this new woman. I don't know how many lovers she's had, but I went to pick her up at her apartment. She had a coat check."
Ah!
And Bert laughed, not the high pitch, ha ha, that because it wasn't that kind of joke. But I got a real Burt Reynolds laugh. And I said, "Yeah, I worked with a friend of yours." This first thing I said was, "I worked with a buddy of yours because I wanted in, And it was a picture of me and Dom DeLuise, which you have.
Yes.
So I show him this photo, right? Letterman never had to do the limbo.
No. Here we go. I'll just
So
move
that's
over
from
here.
the Dom DeLuise show, which I'm sure we all remember is running 8 times. And but when I showed him that, Bert, the look on his face changed, and he just went, "Oh." And he said it like this. He goes, "I miss him."
misses his
He said it like
friends.
that. He goes, "I miss him. What a funny guy and a great human being." And I said, "Yeah, I'm also friends with Mort Saul." And I told him a story about him and Mort, and the whole time he's nodding and like, "Yeah, I remember that." Now here's the funny part. Some band member comes over because there's a band at the after party. He goes, "We're going to play My Funny Valentine. I heard you like Chet Baker." So yeah, so he leaves. And I said, "Hey, did you see that movie Ethan Hawke made about Chet Baker, Born to Be Blue?" He goes, "Yeah, but they always concentrate so much on the drugs he did." I go, "Well, that's part of his story." And I realized I'm talking movies with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Just regular movies now.
Yeah.
So that was just fun. And
just film geek.
yeah. And I
wow.
thanked him for teaching me how to drive. And
Smoking the Bandit or Hooper or which one?
well, the one I like is White Lightning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he gets out of prison, he gets in that car.
I've
and
never
he's
seen
dri-
it. Oh, okay. Never had a guest get up so much.
White Lightning is great. It's got my favorite line. He goes, "Only 2 things I'm scared of. Only scared of 2 things: women and the police." That was it. And Ned Beatty's the sheriff who killed his brother. Yeah. So it's a revenge movie. It's really good. It's got Diane Ladd is in it. R.G. Armstrong. Just great character. The 70s had the best character actors, and we're done with them. There's no character actors anymore.
Is that true?
I don't think I think Steve Buscemi, when he became the lead in a series, you're like,
Oh,
well, he's
I
no
see
longer a
your
character
point.
actor.
I see your point
Yeah.
because now we can make,
Yeah.
they used to be characters, now they can run,
Yeah,
Paul
these guys-
Giamatti, same thing.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
Well, that's
cannot.
interesting. Look at you.
By the way, I cannot nail my Paul Giamatti impression. I can't. I tried to get it, and all I got. You have to close your eyes because my
It's
face.
more visual,
It's
isn't
more
it?
like Bobby Axelrod. He's a whispering actor. He's like,
Yeah.
when he really wants to say something. It's almost like Dustin Hoffman in a way.
I think you're probably right when you show the restraint, but I would have to do you're friends with this guy. I would have to go the church lady route and just go caricaturize it
Right.
from like one of his.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stern, you are the motherfucking Antichrist.
Yeah, that's
When he's-
right.
he's,
That's
uh,
right.
pig
Somebody
vomit.
said, I don't know. Somebody said, Carlos Elizraki said to me that a friend of his does a good one. He goes,
Dana Carvey's the name I couldn't think of there. by the way.
Oh, and
Sorry
he
about
goes,
that.
just pretend like you're chewing on your shoulder when you do.
Oh, that's
Giamatti.
good. Yeah, he's at the side. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So, anyway, the Burt Reynolds thing was, I was high for 3 days, and then he'd show up and talk about his movies, and even the second time he came out, I was still emotionally like, that's Burt Reynolds, man.
Yeah.
And he told great stories. Somebody in the audience asked him a question like, "What's the most rebellious thing you've ever done?" And he goes, "Well, she's married now." So.
Oh, good for him.
And
Still sharp.
yeah, and somebody said, when you kissed Sally Field and Smokey and the Bandit, that was the best screen kiss ever. What did you think? And he goes, "I think it was the best kiss I ever had." That's right. That's right. Bert always looked
Did he
like he
have
had
the
something in his mouth. Well, like Jerry Lewis always.
He had the
Jerry had
lozenge.
Martin Short made
that's
that
what I
famous.
was gonna
Yeah,
go
He does
on.
the lodges, how he does the impression.
And the old and the new Jerry. Well, not these days, but the young and the old Jerry.
I got to meet Jerry Lewis too.
Really?
Yeah, I got to meet all
Is there a photo
lot
of that?
A lot of heroes. I didn't do a photo op because it was a movie set, and I don't want to be that guy. But Kevin Pollak
Climb right up on the furniture, though, no problem.
I have boundaries.
Oh man, I wish I'm gonna make a still of that.
I am too. I hope I got my face.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Can't wait to see. You know what I mean? Because I should be directing it too.
That's true. So anyway, a lot of my stories start with I was hanging with Kevin Pollak or I was hanging with Dana Carvey because they are the movie stars. So Kevin was doing Max Rose.
You've done films too, though.
I've done one, just one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should have it in your notes.
What was it? Oh no, no notes. No notes. No, you sent that stuff. I don't look at it. Forgive me. So that we can do
No,
this.
I
People
didn't
like
send.
to watch
No,
this
I
better.
didn't send what my one movie role.
Oh.
No, he didn't.
No, there was well, it doesn't matter. You sent something.
I sent pictures. Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever. I don't mean it. We stopped the whole thing again. The
All
whole
right.
train came to a halt.
All right. Well, anyway, so I was visiting. I got to meet Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was the first comedian I ever saw live. It was South Lake Tahoe at the South
He's
Shore.
one of the best of all time.
Yeah, I was 15. My mom knew I was a big fan. Although my uncle said, I wouldn't walk across the street to see Jerry Lewis. He has that kind of like love or hate him thing. And
What is just Jerry Lewis like in stand-up? I loved Martin and Lewis.
he
Obviously.
sings a little. He does. It's for some really strange reason. I only remember one thing he did, besides the glass.
Oh yeah, sure. You see the whole thing.
But he does stuff with the band, and he read a limerick, and he goes, if a light sleeper sleeps with a light on, does a hard sleeper sleep with the window open? He didn't stutter like I did to ruin the joke, but and I believe he said, wait!
Lady! Bobby Flay.
Yeah, we always do, like, Jerry Lewis sings Dylan, lady, lay. So I heard stories about Jerry. Oh, he's not a nice guy. He's rough to deal with, But my story's a good
I've
one.
heard the same thing. Yeah.
But I
That
met
doesn't
him.
stop me from loving the guy though. The work was so good.
You know what? He was a great sight gag writer. If you watch his movies, his sight gags were really intricate. And there's
Do you mean even in his own stuff, like Cinderfella and everything?
Oh yeah, he wrote a lot of his sight gags. Yeah, and
Some of the greatest physical comedy ever
Oh,
came
man.
out of Jerry Lewis back in those early days. Man.
Yeah.
I
The
didn't
Disorderly
watch a lot
Orderly,
of
he
his
was
stuff.
just falling down and breaking shit and not getting hurt. Amazing.
Yeah. So he, all Kevin Pollak said to him, this blows me away. All he said was, this is a friend of mine from San Francisco, Mark Pitta, a stand-up friend of mine. And I said, Jerry, you were the first comic I ever saw live on South Shore Room. And just like a comic, he said, he goes, who opened for me? And I happened to know it was Florence Henderson.
Oh, no
she
kidding.
She sang. And I remember him being in my seat going, why is Mrs. Brady singing? And then Kevin said something like, when she wasn't blowing the crew, did you read her book?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think Kevin's right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
and so we talk, and he's talking like a comic to me. He's like, yeah, man, when I haven't done my act in a long time, I go to YouTube so I can watch it and remind myself. I said, I have to do that too sometimes. And I said, The Nutty Professor was the first impression I ever did. And
Were
I
you doing
said,
Buddy Love or?
I was doing The Nutty Professor, and I said, my mom wanted to take me to a doctor. because I talked like you for a year. And I didn't clear it with Kevin because I knew I was going to do the impression for him. And I said, yeah, Jerry, I used to say, Mother, if you're making pancakes or flapjacks, as you call them, some people call them hotcakes. I would like boysenberry syrup. A lot of people use the maple, very popular maple. I would like the orange juice freshly squeezed and the bacon crisp. And Jerry said, that is the best Humphrey Bogart I've ever heard.
Good.
I don't think I was the first guy to do that to him.
I don't think so, but I'll tell you what. That was really good. Your impression was really good.
That's a spot-on impression, I must say. But I've done it since I was 8.
I hope I cut to my face enough so that you could see my reaction to that. You probably don't know this, but there's a Simpsons character that is based on the Nutty Professor, and he looks like him, and he sounds just like that. And he's done by Hank Azaria, but it's based on that.
And Andrew Dice Clay, in his act, was doing Buddy Love.
Oh, I heard that too. Is that true?
Well, watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
You're like, that's
right
so Buddy Love.
Right out of it.
Well, Jerry Lewis, that character was like, want some, that kind of thing.
Somebody told me once, I don't know if there's truth to it, but it was basically like a Jerry and Dean. Jerry was getting to play Jerry and Dean in that role, in that movie, rather.
Yes, I think so too.
Isn't that neat?
You know what's funny is your face. You said, "I hope my face was on." I got to do that voice for Stella Stevens, and she was like that.
Yeah, I hope you did see it. It was genuine.
Yeah,
that's why I went over to I have to capture it.
And you turned away. Instead of laughter, you went like that.
I was laughing.
I would like to hear laughs.
So hard.
Laughs are better.
Don't worry. They'll be fun.
Yeah, I could do that all night long. If you'd like to do it all night long, I would appreciate some kind of betting later.
So did your mom really almost take you to the doctor?
No.
That would have been great.
That would have been so
But I did talk
good.
like him a lot.
I think that hasn't happened again until Borat with it. My wife, and everyone says that all the time.
The reason I knew that movie so well was because in Tahoe, they didn't have an arcade. They had Pong, maybe air hockey, and they had a movie theater where they shoved the kids so that one of the adults gambled. And they only played The Nutty Professor and Three Stooges in Orbit over and over again. So I knew that movie by heart. Now fast forward years later, I'm a comic. I'm working the Dallas Improv. I'm in the condo, and I turn on the TV, and The Nutty Professor's on, and I don't know it's on a pay-per-view. I don't know it's.
Oh God!
I didn't know there wasn't going to be commercials, so there were no commercials, and I watched the whole thing again.
Anyone else play through?
Yeah, and you know how I watched it? I watched it like this. I knew the whole movie. I knew the whole friggin' movie.
So what was the bill?
Oh no! When I say pay-per-view, I mean it was on cable.
Oh,
it was the Comedy Condo.
When you said I watched it over and over, and then I got to a thing, and I didn't know I had to pay for it. I thought for sure at the end of that story was it, and I got down. The bill was more than the room. Yeah.
The guy at the hotel says, "You watched that?" No. And it was played by Rick Overton. You watched that?
I will get into one thing from your bio that I don't know much about, but I used to watch this show, and it says you did an episode of Totally Hidden Video?
I was the host.
But for how many episodes? Because I used to watch that show. Here's the deal. My dad...
Season and a half.
Okay. Oh, I remember Steve Skrovan.
Yeah, I replaced... there was a time after Steve left, there was a lot of different comedians each week. And then I got the job for the next season.
Wow.
And Steve always called me and says, get to 100 episodes, we'll get syndication. And we never did. You know what's weird about Totally Hidden Video? It was a hidden camera show.
Well, that's what I was going to say. As a kid, my dad grew up loving broadcasting. He used to go see the Honeymooners at the Ed Sullivan Theater when he was a kid. Wow. All that stuff. He had my childhood before me. So I grew up hearing all of these stories and everything else. And having a mild appreciation from afar. I grew up hearing about Candid Camera, but it wasn't on when I was a kid. And then this show, Totally Hidden Video, pops up, and my dad loves it because it's basically a reboot of a Candid Camera type-ish show. Right. So essentially, my dad was exposing me to it. So we watched it every Sunday night when it was on. So I actually saw almost every episode of that show. Yeah. I remember the set with the jukebox and walking in the stairs and the whole thing. I remember the whole thing.
Except the host.
Yeah, I only remember Steve Skrovan. I guess I didn't watch till the last season. Now I'm a dick. Well, why is IMDb only says one episode, too? That's stupid.
I don't know. But
and his face went like this.
Yeah, now I feel bad.
Well, you know what? The funny thing about that show is they came to us. We want it more edgy, more dark. And we did ones where a birthday clown comes to work a birthday party, but when he gets there, it's a funeral with an open casket. That's how dark we got.
And the joke is on the clown.
And the joke is on the
The-
clown.
yeah.
It's the question is, will this birthday clown still work, even though he knows it's not a party? Like, I want the gig. It's like, does he want the gig?
This was Fox.
And
if
the
I
person
remember.
in the coffin tells him he's on Totally Hidden Video. So we had almost guy die, heart attack, But and then we edit and we show it to the executives. You know what they said? That's too dark. That's too edgy. Like, oh. So they
Make
took
up
it
your
off
mind.
the air. Yeah, it was funny. I remember when they never tell you when you're canceled, which is not good for the writers because they need to get on another project.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I was doing the Dennis Miller show when he had a talk show on TBS.
I remember.
Remember when he had the bands in black letterbox and the black and white?
I remember everything. All
Yeah.
this stuff. The wooden
Yeah.
set. It was a wooden box set. It was essentially
Yeah.
they did it like Saturday Night Live style, where it was the home base and then the musical guest.
This
next
is
to
you
it.
in 20 years. I had an iPhone. I remember those.
Yeah, I guess so. Does everyone remember all these talk shows? I don't get to talk shows
Well,
with other people.
oh.
That's what it is. So I did this
Okay.
with Rick Overton too. I get to nerd out, I guess.
Oh, I like them. Yeah. I didn't do Pat Sajak's,
Oh.
but when I was doing Dennis Miller show, I called up one of the executives at Fox. I said, "Hey, I'm doing the Dennis Miller show. Should I plug the new season of Totally Hidden Video?" And he goes, "No." And that's when I found out. That's when I called the writers that you better look for a job. They're coming
Yeah.
back. Yeah. Pitta. I remember this because Miller, his references and all that. So
Yeah.
being the Dennis Miller show, you didn't have to do a suit like the Tonight Show. So
Right.
I just did jeans, cowboy boots.
Even
a
he was
bu-
wearing that little whatever that crazy tie thing. He had
a
going
bolo
on.
tie?
Yeah, bolo
Yeah.
tie for a bit.
So I had no tie. And I had a sport jacket, jeans, boots, and button-down shirt. Of course, Miller goes, "Pitta, you got a whole McLeod thing going tonight."
Dennis Weaver.
Yeah. What's funny is, did you see Dennis's new
We should do a
special?
thing because I'll translate all your references for people.
The annotated guest. He was funny. I liked his new special, even though he's, is politically. I'm not political, so I don't
I
care.
know. I'm glad that's why you're here.
But we wrote the same joke. I haven't told him yet. But I go, you know what? It's just off a little, but it's the same joke. I have
Let's
a
hear it.
joke where I say, I tried an Uber B&B. That's where you sleep in the guy's car, and he has one called Air DMV, where you sleep in a stranger's car. I'm like, we got the same punchline, but his didn't get a big laugh either.
Ah!
Not a great joke for either, but he had a great reference about somebody on Fox who always doesn't understand what's going on. He goes, he looks like Jim Morrison in New Haven when he's taken off the stage. And
Oh, that's so funny.
And he goes,
"What's going on?"
"Yeah, what's going?" And I love when Dennis can nail a reference. Like, that's the perfect reference for
Well,
that.
it's from the from the newspaper and everything. You picture
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Dennis Miller. So, gosh, you have a tremendous talk show history then.
Yeah,
And you were on Leno as a guest, right?
I
You
was a
just had-
Leno. When I was on Johnny Carson, that was the end all because I was wanting
Hang
to do
on,
that.
you were on Carson?
Yeah. Oh,
Let's
you didn't
talk
know
about that.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Ooh,
That's
doggy.
there's a lot of nods here and there to
I
the
know.
old Carson.
Oh, I know.
That's
That's nice.
one of Johnny's old mics from New York when you were. That could have been the Tiny Tim mic.
You know what
back
I
in the day.
wanted? I wanted a more to come slide. Remember the more to come art they always had?
Oh, the actual ones. That's why
Yeah.
we do that too.
yeah, but it's just it's like
The actual artwork. Those were hand painted art, supposed.
I mean, how did you get this? I mean, they were throwing away Karnak's turban. I mean, like, how did you get this?
It's a long ass story.
Okay.
We've covered it so much on the show. but
Okay,
it's
I'll ask you in private if we have a private life together.
I hope so. We're gonna do a show together. I think.
Nicole, gonna inject anything yet?
I hope so. I emote.
Well, the way this is set up, I want to look at her mostly because we're in perfect eye line.
Everybody
And
wants to
you're-
look at her
you're
mostly.
over here like this.
We
Well-
know how it works.
Oh,
That's
she has-
why I get.
well, she's got the toothpick. So inside
medicine.
joke, inside
It's her
joke.
medicine. It's her the CBD oil.
Which is kicking in here for me. Yes,
So
let me
you-
just
Enjoy.
see this. Oh yes, it's good.
No, but talk show history. Tell us about. And you did.
I
Johnny?
miss talk shows that had the element of surprise. It is so calculated now.
Well, this is a great time to do it because Mark coming in right now. Let's bring her in.
You're still
This
alive.
is your life.
Oh,
You're still alive.
I'm bopping around, man.
Good.
That just reminded me of something else. I'm friends
It's
with.
Thanksgiving break. This is
Okay.
like the throwaway show.
These
We're
are going
just
to be
having
great
fun.
stories, man. Let's tell some rapid fire stories.
Oh, that's
So,
so good. That's
You said this is
Dennis
your
Miller.
life. You said this is your life. I just flashed on This Is Your Life with Dana Andrews, who's a great actor, but I know his daughter, Susan. And Susan, we were talking about Dupars. Now, do you say Dupars or Dupars?
I say Dupars.
That's weird. Never.
But I also say TV instead of TV.
Oh.
Some people say the East Coast or something. I
I
TV.
say erection instead. No, I got myself an erection. So I'm in
Can you
line.
not get on the desk again, please? Stay off the desk.
Right. I didn't mean to put those two together.
Or turn around at least.
So Susan Andrews, I'm standing in line with her, and I'm talking about Dupars, and she tells the great story. Now, Dana Andrews, look him up. Best Years of Our Lives, just underrated actor, minimalist actor. Laura, great film noir actor.
Okay.
Then in the 60s, unfortunately, he was an alcoholic, and there were some movies where like, oh, he's drinking during that movie. She does not like to talk about Highway to Hell. Excuse me, Hot Rods to Hell. That's the one where he's drunk the whole movie.
Okay.
But let's not work on that.
Yeah,
He
let's
was
not
a
talk
great
about that
film
one.
noir actor. I mean, just a great actor. And that's her dad. So there are Dupars, and he's paying the check. He goes, he's old. He's in his 80s at this point, so he's old. He's taking his time. And I'm sitting there with a friend. I noticed waiting for a table was David Lynch.
Oof.
And I go, there's David Lynch. She goes, there's David Lynch. Let's go see what he's talking about. So they kind of walk over. You know what he's saying to his friend? That's Dana Andrews.
How cool. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I love
Those are
that.
cool
Like,
moments.
That's amazing.
yeah, that's Dana Andrews, but it's David Lynch saying.
And it's
yeah.
like, hey, go eat at Dupars where all of these talented people have pie.
I just love that. And I was telling that to a bartender, and he told me a Cary Grant story. And this is a great
At
Cary
Dupars?
No, this is a bartender. I was telling him this story. But it turns out that Cary Grant never liked to go to the Academy Awards because, and Jennifer, his daughter, Jennifer Grant, who he had with Diane Cannon, said, Dad, I want to go to the Academy Awards. She goes, okay, I'll take you, but the only thing is we'll go in after everyone's seated, because if I go, everybody talks to me and stops me. It's just a long night for me.
I agree with that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So everybody's seated, and he goes to Will Call to get the tickets.
Oh, fuck.
And he goes,
Oh.
no, because that's where they're held.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't do a Cary Grant impression. I'll do it as Rick Overton. No, I'm kidding. No. So Cary Grant goes, I believe you're holding 2 tickets for me. He goes, name, please. He goes, Cary Grant. And she takes the ticket. She hands him. She goes, you don't look like Cary Grant. And he lowers his glasses. He goes, nobody does.
Nice. Oh, that's so good.
That's too smooth, man.
So good.
It's a
I
good
appreciate
moment.
It's up there
really-
with Burt Reynolds with his, they're
Yeah.
just so good. They're so polished.
I appreciate good ad libs in the moment. David Steinberg, who did 300 Tonight
Mr.
shows.
Steinberg.
Yeah, David Steinberg. I was at the American Comedy
There's
Award.
someone who appreciates this genre and this format.
He was in the audience for Johnny's last show because they panned the crowd. And I'm like, well, there's David Steinberg.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
Oh,
I saw
that
a
must have
musician
been
I
cool.
know from that same thing.
I'll do a shorter version of the story he tells where he talks about it. I go, what's your first sitcom you directed? Because that's what he does now. He goes, Golden Girls, but he was warned about B. Arthur being tough to deal with.
Maud.
And he said, B, instead of saying that line there, why don't you cross the couch, sit down and say the line? And of course, she'd say, like, why in God's name would I do that? Like, just a suggestion. So the whole week is like that. So she takes him out for drinks at the end of the week, as she does all her directors, because she's hard to deal with. But this is a great ad lib. This is a great thing. She says, they're drinking. And she goes, David, why do people take an instant dislike to me? And he says, to save time.
That was loaded up?
Yeah, that was
That's
nice.
good.
I almost refuse to believe it was as quick as you did it. That is excellent.
I love, but there are people that, are just quick,
yeah, that's a.
Oh, I want to steal
Sometimes you
that,
don't
though.
think of something until that moment is presented to you because you never put your mind in that situation, and sometimes you can come up with some good stuff.
Don't you miss it, though, when you think about it on the way home after? Like, oh, man, that was just so stinking good, and you'd load it up, and it's too late.
It was like I was over there. You were saying something like, "Oh, I'd like to interject right
Oh,
there."
you should have. We should.
But then you said it. I said I think was there ever a bar called Epstein's Bar?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fair enough. Now I lost all train of thought. That whole thing.
We were talking about talk shows history, and no, I was a big fan.
Did you do Johnny though? Was that true?
That's where we didn't get there yet. Yeah. So in 1990, August 23rd, 24th. Sorry. I was gonna say you never forget your Tonight Show. My mom's
and then you
my
just
mom's
did.
birthday's the 22nd. She died on the 23rd, and I'm on the 24th. Okay.
So this was the 24th.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Damn Ray Child's birthday.
oh, okay.
The guy from the thing with the girl.
So the funny thing is, I didn't bring this picture, but in my high school locker, I had a picture of Johnny Carson. I cut it out of Variety, and that's in 1976. I graduate, and in 1990, I'm doing a show. So I realized that was the first vision board.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was. And after I did a show, the night before, I went there and I said, I told the coordinator, I said, can I stand on my mark where I'm going to stand tomorrow night so that fear is out of my
You
system?
get it. You know the manifestations.
Yeah, and they go, sure. And so I'm standing there on the mark doing my whole act, and the band's breaking down. I'm sorry. They go, we've seen it before.
Yep.
And I'm doing it. And then I get canceled. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a call like, we have to bump you. George Wendt is available. I don't know. And
Cheers was huge right then. So
Yeah.
even if that was a joke,
Yeah.
that would have been a huge get.
yeah, it was. It was. And turns out, after that, you think, was my projection of being on the show, my projection of being on the mark
spot,
the
yeah.
day before, and I
Right.
never do the show.
You're doing the star, yeah.
So that freaked
Actually,
me
you're not
out.
on Johnny's
No,
star
we're
for
not.
that, right?
You're
It's
on
a different mark.
Ooh,
Yeah.
do not go on that star. But mine doesn't have a great ending, but it has a different ending. So I do the show, and
This is all right around the corner, right? It's Studio
Yes.
1 in Burbank, the
Yeah.
Johnny Studio, the big rake and everything.
now just the park with his statue. But I hate how it looks now too.
I know.
I was watching
I
some
miss
old.
seeing the peacock over there.
I was watching some old Policewoman's, and they just shoot everything in Burbank, man. It's like you see
Really?
Burbank all over the place, So I do the Tonight Show, and I do my act, and I'm not nervous because I did it. I was so sick of that set. I mean, I don't want to say this after this. I'm never going to say this again. You just work on it so much,
Right.
But that helps
To
you
get to that moment.
because
though.
when the nerves do kick in, your mind already knows what you're going to say. So I didn't-
Autopilot.
right?
Ish.
So that helped. And then when I heard Johnny laugh at one of my jokes and Tony Randall, who's a guest, but here's what I didn't do. I said, last joke, thank you, good night. And then they give you go to the curtain. So I walk back to the curtain. I'm staring at the curtain. I walk through the curtain. I'm like, what did I not do? I didn't look at Johnny Carson. I didn't look at him. And he was trying to give me that. The thing, if people don't know, that you waited to get this from Johnny Carson. You were validated. Now keep that camera on because see what Johnny did.
You got it.
Johnny was looking at me. I wasn't looking at him, but he played like I was, and he puts his hand off to the side, but he goes, "Good job." It really articulated it well, so they knew, the audience at home knew he liked it.
Absolutely.
That
He's
was
such
very
a
important to
pro.
me. But when I
Whether
went to
or
the
not
curtain-
you saw it in the moment, you
Yeah.
were going to see it later.
yeah, and
He
then,
was still going to get the message to you and for everyone else
Right.
through.
And then in the dressing room, he walked in after the show, and he goes, I said, "Johnny, I waited my whole life to get that. I never looked at you." He goes, "I know, I was trying to give it to you. And you didn't look at me." Well, nice to meet you. And he leaves. And then 5 minutes later, he's walking by him again. He goes, "I hope you come back." And I should have said, "I got my calendar right here." But I didn't. And that was the only time I did it, because then he announced he was going to retire, and then everybody wanted to do it
Everything got
again.
different
so.
over there, yeah.
But when I did it with Jay, I'd already done gigs with Jay, and it's funny because Rob Schneider was a guest. I'm like, am I even on TV? Because I also hosted Friday Night Videos, which used the crew of the Tonight Show after. So there's the
Did you
crew
do it
I
with-
work with every week.
Right across the hall, right?
No, we did it from the Tonight Show stage.
Oh, did you? In the
Yeah.
same, okay.
With the
that-
same crew, so
with the
it's
same
like
crew.
off
So
hours.
there's the crew. There's Jay, who I've done gigs with. There's Rob Schneider, who I've known forever. I go, am I on television? But one time I got to do. We were talking in the.
Because you were
They
just with
call
your
it a
friends and
green
peers.
room. It's hysterical. They call it a green room. It turns out that we missed the combination of guests on the couch, which they don't do anymore.
Yeah.
So you had Timothy Leary sitting next to Billy Graham, sitting next to Rip Taylor, sitting next to Sammy Davis Jr. Like those guys. Peter Fonda talking to, an uptight politician. Oh, that was just something and I think Johnny knew what guests to bring out in what
Agreed.
order, because they had the sexually
part of it.
repressed guy before right after George Carlin. So George is sitting there, and George had a lot to say.
So even though you don't have somebody next to you, that is more of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
More of the, not the whole like anything can happen. It's not so
Yeah.
much that. It's more in the lines of it's underproduced. It's not
Yes.
overproduced. You know what ingredients you should maybe mix in. but
Right.
Don't follow the goddamn line list of you
Yeah.
need to have a laugh here and a joke here and a LED light here and a thing here. And
Well, I think and Dana Carvey might be the last guest on this show at this seat in this desk. Dana always did Letterman. We had nothing to plug. He would just come out to be on it, but he didn't have a lot to plug.
I have to ask him a question off the air. Just had one of those moments where I have to ask you a question off the air.
Oh.
Well, it's a Dana Carvey question. Actually, I've always wanted to ask him, but it's regarding something he did on Letterman and a bit that they wrote for him where he came in and had to steal a bit from the Letterman. They had a whole new set. They redid the Ed Sullivan Theater and the whole bit. And they wrote a piece where Dana Carvey he was just about to start his show, the Dana Carvey Show.
Right.
So 96. Probably. Do you remember this time frame?
I worked on that show, yeah.
Okay, well then you know. Everybody worked on that show, Mark Pitta.
I am not on a list. I could tell you what I contributed to the show, but I basically was hired as to be Dana's friend.
Okay.
Because he needed a regular guy to hang out with after all the BS of doing a television show and the notes and everything, you know.
All right,
but
well,
what was
you remember the time frame very
why
well.
Why is this off camera?
No, I'm telling you this. I guess it's going to be on camera. Yeah, right. It's going to be on now because everybody else knows the story already.
Oh, what is the bit? I don't know this. I should know this bit.
They wrote a bit where he came in and had to steal a piece of the new set.
Okay.
And he was going to take it to his show, whatever. It's very inconsequential. Here's why it doesn't make sense to you, because you're missing a piece of the story. Earlier in the week, a piece of the set had been stolen. David Letterman's historic microphone that looked exactly like this was stolen from the theater.
Yeah,
I stole it. I'm the kid. Some kid was let into the theater overnight, blah, blah, blah. It was me. We told the story on the show. Everybody knows it now. But I've always been curious about the writing side of all. There was a tremendous amount of material that was written, prepared, and performed on the show around this whole
situation.
Yes.
Then I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, and he might not either. But
Yeah.
I was curious if there ever was anything.
What's funny, because when he did his show, the Dana Carvey show, he did a top 10 list.
Oh, did he really?
Because Letterman moved to CBS and NBC was into
the intellectual property. They were the first
but that
ones
was it was an ABC show though.
Yours was.
No, the Dana Carvey show is ABC. I just ran into Steve Carell at the Mill Valley Film Festival, and I said, "Hey, excuse me, I'm not in the documentary about that show, but I had stories." And he goes, "I haven't even seen that documentary yet."
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's called Too Funny to Fail, and it's about all the great writers on that show and how could
the Dana Carvey show?
How could that show fail when you had Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Being John Malkovich, you have Robert Smigel, of course, one of the greatest sketch writers ever.
Louis C.K.
And Louis C.K. And you had Steve Carell and Steve Colbert handpicked by Dana. And that show failed because it was on at 9:30. And all the sensibilities of the show was late night.
Yeah, there were a lot of reasons. The show was fine.
Here's my contribution. Unfortunately, it was a half-hour show, so it didn't work, but they did it anyway. I know how quick Dana is. He was being interviewed by Marilyn Beck, I think, whoever wrote for TV Guide.
Okay.
And she was interviewing him, and he had a speakerphone. Remember the speaker?
Sure.
And
hello, angels.
Yeah. My favorite is Real Life with Albert Brooks, where the studio guy is on there. He's like, "You're nuts.
Yeah.
You're nuts." I just watched that again. No. You're nuts. I want. You can't have stars in the movie. You have to. Yeah.
I'll take anything, but Defending Your Life is my all-time.
Oh man. Well, I like
so
Modern Romance. Just for I was on the floor with that one.
You were saying though, you were in the middle of the thing.
Yeah, and I forgot. No. So. I just noticed Dana was so quick with the TV Guide woman, and it was a room full of people that had to suppress their laughter because she didn't, otherwise, "You're laughing at me," And I go, "Dana, you want to do a retro show. You want to do a retro variety show." That's why it was called the Taco Bell Dana Carvey Show, followed by the next week Mountain Dew Dana Carvey Show, followed by the Szechuan Kitchen Dana Carvey Show.
I love it.
The sponsors got worse and worse. But it was funny because I went to the Museum of Television and I watched all the old variety shows. And I'm like, Jackie Gleason, Carol Burnett, Smothers Brothers all took questions from the audience. And you're quick. You should start the show taking questions
on the show.
It's in every episode.
No shit.
But it's cut to 22 minutes. Yeah, there you go. So it's cut down to 22 minutes. So they had to truncate that opening with if you had some good rapport because they had sketches to get to, and it didn't work. It works in an hour format. So that's my only contribution. But
it's a good one, but I agree with you. It's
Dana
a format issue.
Yeah. So, anyway,
the show was good. The show was good, and it could have been great.
Yeah, and you could watch them all right now on Hulu.
Is that right?
Yep, all of them.
And where's the documentary available?
Hulu.
Easy.
And by the way, it's
I'm doing
nothing
this
but it's nothing but fun. That documentary doesn't go into the dirt. It's just funny. But I won't tell you the funniest thing in it because you'll be on the floor laughing. But,
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I like how this conversation just goes whatever we can think
I
of.
mean, we've done an hour. We can stop anytime. You know what I mean? I'm just enjoying talking to you. You're a really
Oh,
cool
I had
guy,
another-
and I'm just kind of enjoying it. We have tons of pictures. You want to look at them and go through?
Okay. Put one up. I'll tell a story.
Well, this one just because.
Okay. All right. So this is one of my favorite stories. I lived in San
Woody
Luis.
Allen, everybody.
Yeah, it's that's Woody Allen, everybody.
Right
It's great. You get a photo of me. But so it turns out that I'm watching a movie called Take the Money and Run, and that's his first movie that he directed. He shot it in San Francisco. Nothing about that movie says San Francisco. There was no landmarks. He shot in Golden Gate Park. He shot in the Mission. You can't really tell where it's shot.
Kidding.
Yeah. So they're doing the scene where they're going to rob the bank. They did it on 4th of July because the banks were closed. So they one day to shoot the famous scene where they can't read his note. This says, "You're holding a gub." What's a gub? Like, no, it's gone. He goes, "What is apt natural?" No, it's act. This is a robbery. Kind of in a hurry. Well, you're going to have to get this note initialed by the man in the gray suit. So they go over to the vice president in the gray suit. That's my next door neighbor growing up. He had a SAG card. He was a kid actor in the Our Gang comedies.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
the Little Rascals.
yeah. So
Whoa.
he goes to audition. He goes, yeah, he gets the part, and he ends up with the note after the scene, and he kept it all those years. Wow. And when I told him, when I go, "Oh, you didn't tell me you were in that movie," he shows me the sides of the script and the note in Woody's in Woody's handwriting. When he passed away, I convinced his wife he always wanted me to have that.
Mark Pitta.
Yeah. Because the fence between my mom's house and her house, the fence was breaking down. I go, "I'll pay for the fence if I get the note." So I did a whole thing.
That's fair.
Then it works
You
out.
bought it. That's fine.
Yeah, but then I find the lobby
It's a barter.
card with everybody pointing at the note and put it up there again. I'll show you.
Sure.
The bald guy, his name was, he's right. Oh, how can I do this? So that's my neighbor.
Well, nobody will be able to see this because they're looking at that.
My neighbor's the bald guy. And what's funny is this is flipped because in the movie he's on this side, but they're all looking at the and so the one Woody. So I'm holding the frame, and this is the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley where he played.
The background. Okay.
Yeah, he plays in his jazz band goes there, and he loves it there. So he's in the green room by himself.
Woody's jazz band plays there.
Yeah,
Clarinet.
twice. Right? Yeah, twice they came in, or maybe 3 times.
Cool.
So it turns out that he's in the green room by himself, and the Lucy Mercer who runs the theater goes, "Okay, you can go in there now." And I because I hung around famous people and ball players, I know not to act crazy around a famous person. Like, "Oh my God, I'm meeting you," like that.
Sure.
Like when Dick Cavett interviewed
there's
Marlon
another
Brando, the first thing out of his mouth was like, "I can't believe you're sitting there." Like, "Oh really?" Like you
Ruined
just
the
gave
whole
him
thing.
all the
whole-
leverage.
It all went away. I agree. With you.
Yeah. So
I do that too.
And Dick Cavett's another good talk show one.
Agreed.
And Mort Saul told me a secret. Anyway.
Told you a secret.
So I go in the green room. By the way, I love telling stories where I have 5 tangents before the punchline. But Woody's, I go.
But you're so good at it.
I go, "Woody, I gotta show you this." So I show him the photo. I'm holding it. He looks at it and he goes, "Oh, thank you." And I said, "I'm not giving it to you. I'm showing it to you. Like, that's mine." He goes, and he turned into Woody Allen. He goes, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to assume because people give me things and gifts and So he turned
Not
into Woody
bad.
Allen
Nice.
for me.
It's not bad.
That was good.
So you ended up getting your moment anyway.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
so
darn cool.
I want to give that to the. There's a new comedy museum.
Jamestown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
wanna-
think this stuff will end up there
I
someday.
want to give that to him, but we don't know what people think about Woody now. So it's like,
That's why I put the mustache on him. You asked that before the thing. I
That's why.
just to say, just to change it a little bit.
Well,
to say.
if anybody watches the show, and I know 6 people who do, my theory is I do not believe the crazy woman Mia Farrow because Mia Farrow is nuts.
I'm not going to get to the bottom. I don't know.
I don't know anything.
That's why I'm saying.
All I know is
until
she's
we know
nuts.
anything, he's still accomplished a lot of stuff.
But she's like a Catwoman with children.
I think he's a full-blown weirdo too. If we're going
Of
to talk
course.
about all of this, and I think the whole situation is way fucked up. Is it
Well-
any of my business? No.
Well, my friend Bobby Slayton, comedian Bobby Slayton, who
Bobby Slayton.
you should have him on here.
Get him in here. I'd
All
love
right.
to talk to Bobby Slayton.
Bobby
fucking Slayton.
Bobby's had 2 dinners with Woody Allen, and that subject came up where,
Seriously?
yeah, I don't know
can't
how
even see those two people interacting.
Oh, he had mutual friends and stuff, and I remember that because Bobby said, "I went to go to the bathroom like 3 times. I had a couple bottles of wine." Woody had like 5 beers. And he never got up. He goes, "You never got to the bathroom," and Woody goes, "It's one of my attributes. I don't have to go right away." But turns out they got on the subject for some reason. So now this is all hearsay because I'm hearing it from Bobby Slayton,
Sure.
who's hearing it from. Okay, but when they said
Maybe diluted, as you're saying.
yeah, when Mia Farrow said it, he was in the attic with this younger person taking photos. Woody goes, he has a fear of heights. He has a fear of closed spaces, and he goes like, I would never be in an attic. And it turns out when I did a junket of his movies in New York, it had to be on the first floor of the hotel.
Yeah.
Because
He won't do
he
elevators.
won't go elevator, he won't
Yeah.
go high, and he won't go in close. So
I worked with someone in one of his movies one time, and it was a lot of that stuff.
yeah.
Of just rules so that you knew how to be around it. It was fascinating.
Real quick, because you're a talk show junkie,
Yeah.
Tom Snyder lived in Tiburon.
Huge Tom Snyder fan,
Right,
by the way.
which
Huge.
was 10 minutes from where I lived. And I go, he lives there? I go, yeah, he walks his dog every morning at 10 a.m. So I was having coffee at 10 a.m. and I saw him.
You really did.
And I followed him. And then I found him. He was sitting down. The woman he was with was inside the store.
What's our time frame on this? Just so I.
This is about 2 years before he passed away. So I
Oh
don't.
shit! So he's off the air. This is Tom Snyder.
Oh, this is retired Tom Snyder.
Okay.
In fact, I
He
wrote.
died in 05, 07.
I have to
something
check. I actually wrote a piece about called "There Are No More Tomorrows" when I
Tomorrow's
met him.
Show, beautiful.
The Tomorrow Show. But he had this big dog with him, and he was waiting for the woman. And I said, "Can I pet your dog?" He goes, "She'd hate it if you didn't."
Tom Snyder. You got Tom Snyder.
Yeah, and then I you have to know it's like the Jerry Lewis thing with the impression. Like, when do I bring it up? I said I'm really enjoying the DVD box set of you with the punk rock.
So far, you have not acknowledged that you know it's Tom
Right.
Snyder. Yeah.
And he goes,
okay.
"Oh, like that." And then there was the thing called Blackie's Pasture, which is this nice, and they have a statue of a horse, and they have all these white tents set up for a wine festival. And now I'm talking to Tom Snyder, and he turns into Tom Snyder. And he goes, have you seen what they've done to Blackie's Pasture? They put up
Oh
these,
my God.
He goes, they put up these white tents. It looks beautiful.
He's on the air.
Yeah, he's just like
You're
that.
getting Tom
And
Snyder broadcasting.
I was thinking he's going to say, we'll be back in 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Watch the colors as they fly through the screen. Whatever.
Fire up a color teeny and
Yeah.
watch the colors as they fly through the screen.
I love Tom Snyder because he wore it on his sleeve. Like, it's almost like Jerry Lewis and the telethon. Where
When he was worn out.
When he's worn, no. And we were like, when's he going to snap?
Yeah, he's going to crack.
The first time he's introduced. Would you like Jerry Lewis? Jerry goes out there, goes, well, that's the shot. I didn't ask for that shot. And you're like, he's already on it. This is great. And Tom Snyder would say, we talk to his crew like that.
It was a tiny room about the size of this one, honestly.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah.
shown you clips of it, but it was just him and his producer and a
Yeah.
couple camera guys, and that was it. But
Yeah,
he
yeah.
treated it as if they were a
Incredible.
studio audience.
Very
so he's
intimate.
performing for these guys, but meanwhile he's talking to
Yeah.
you at home,
Yeah.
you individually.
But he had leukemia.
So cool.
And he had leukemia. And I said, yeah, a friend of mine told me that you rented a tuxedo from his place in Corte Madera. And he goes, oh, that was 80 pounds ago. That's how he said it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I know. That was brutal.
Was he actually smoking during this?
I'm
or
sorry. I did that.
Okay.
I don't know why I did that for emphasis. But you do, Tom Snyder. Sometimes you gotta have a prop in your hand.
Especially on the show, he always did have right off
like
camera.
Johnny. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
Somebody told me Johnny had an ashtray built into his desk.
Oh, did he?
That's what somebody told me. I don't know if it's true.
Well, the funny thing is, this is funny, but when Tom Snyder passed away, he had his ashes spread with his dog's ashes.
Is that true?
Loved his dog.
I
yeah.
love
Really
it. He
sweet.
did. He
Yeah.
always talked about the dog on the show.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So he's being Tom Snyder for you.
That was it. That was the story. The
Oh,
fact that he
okay.
was talking, I go, he's talking like Tom Snyder
That's
to me.
amazing.
And I remember Jerry Falwell had died.
Oh,
Wait a
around
minute.
the same time?
Yeah, that's
That's
that day.
the mid-2000s.
Okay, that day it was in the paper. He goes, well, I heard Jerry Falwell died, and there are miracles, or something like that. He did something like another.
There's probably a history there, too, that I don't necessarily remember.
Yeah. Well, he was walking up the stairs once of NBC, and there was a monitor with the news on, and he had a cigar, and he just goes, he says he's walking up, and the monitor's playing the news. He goes, "Shut up, bitch." to the person on the monitor.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I guess he didn't like. Maybe it was Kelly Lang. I don't know.
Well, Tom Snyder, I always found him, one of the things that appealed to me about him was that he was emotional. And
Yeah.
and that's what I liked about Jack Parr as well, was that
Yeah.
he was emotional, and
Yeah.
that was what you didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. It
Right.
wasn't a matter of, is Bob Hope going to walk
Right.
in? What's going to happen? It was
Right.
more like, is Jack going to lose it tonight? Is Jack going to cry tonight? Is Jack going to...
Have you ever watched Johnny Carson on the episode where Don Rickles had broken his cigarette box?
Oh, of course. And he
All
goes
right.
across to
Yeah.
Sharky.
I've watched that to see if it was planned.
Oh,
and they're
what do you think?
I just don't think it is.
I don't think so either. Technically, they weren't set up to go
Oh my
across
God,
the
that's
hall.
why it looks so good with a big camera going there.
And just the whole thing, they weren't set up. Everyone's tucked into home base,
Yeah.
going off the script like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And then it's, when the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
Whoa! And now it's like audible. Everybody on.
My favorite
You're
thing.
on call.
When Rickles one night, who always said this, he goes, anyway, there's a black guy in the back saying, what about me? And Johnny goes, where's the black guy in the back? And they go up the stairs, and there's
There
a black
was,
guy,
yeah.
there's
They
a black
actually
guy in
went
the
to him.
back.
He was a security guy. Or
And
something,
that wasn't planned either. But that's what we miss.
And that was actually the Jay Leno studio that you used to go to, Studio 3. That Sharky. Boy, that's
fun.
so funny.
Yeah, when you did Jay's show, like I said, it was like I knew Jay, and but I got to be on the couch with Sean Young, and
well, who hasn't? Hey-o.
Hey. So who was Maria Osmond was on, and
Can I ask the time frame on this one too?
94.
Okay, so
something
you're in the
95?
old Johnny studio, maybe?
Yes,
Or-
it
okay,
was still.
cool.
I never did Jay in the newer studio.
Okay.
I didn't like that studio at all. They put the comics on the corner,
I know,
and,
it's
and,
all
and the
weird.
audience is over there.
Everything about
but
it
they
was
can't
weird.
turn. Oh, so
Jay was happy.
Well, Jay had
Made
his
the show a hit.
star, and
Made the show a hit.
But so it was funny because he asked Maria a question about being young. Anyway, for some reason the director cuts to Sean Young and I, and it gets a laugh because we're just sitting there doing nothing. And
The
then
Hal Gurney shot almost.
Yeah, and then it gets a laugh, and then Maria goes, "Did I miss something?" And Jay goes, "And then like the two at the end of the bar, you won't shut up, And but I got to do a spit take, which I always want to do on the Tonight Show panel, and I worked it in.
Yeah.
Because Sean Young was pregnant and she had Jay massaging her feet. So when I sat down, I just took my shoes off and gave them to Jay. And Jay's like, "Oh, like this," and she gives me her feet, and I do it for like a second and put it back. She goes, "I hope you're not like that quick in bed." And I just went, "Excuse me,"
Nice.
because I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah, and then she gave you an opportunity, so
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Capitalize on it.
And the only other story we didn't get to was the Dick Cavett one, where when I used to host the show at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley for 10 years, it was the same audience. That we had a core audience. But for me, it's like I don't have a writing
You said
staff.
you fill the room every week.
Yeah, but I didn't have a writing staff. And every week, like I couldn't do my same act all the time. So I took questions from the audience like Dick Cavett used to. And Mort Saul told me, like, he wrote those questions. Like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense.
God.
Like, he wrote most of those
Oh.
questions, so he would seem like, oh, I just thought of that.
It looks off the
Holy
cuff.
cow.
Holy
Doesn't that
cow.
make the whole thing?
Secrets.
So that's what we're doing. We're pulling the curtain back. Letting
Yeah,
people know that stuff. You're awesome, man.
Well, we could talk all day, but
yeah, no, let's do it again sometime.
All
really,
right.
if you're willing. I would
yeah,
love that.
I come back here a lot. So
we don't need to schedule it right this second. I'm just saying that you were awesome.
well,
hope
I got
you
that.
had fun.
I'm trained from when Johnny said it, and I'm like, I should have,
Hang
I
on.
got
have
on.
my calendar right here.
All right, well, let's just go through these pictures real quick.
Oh.
Here, I see Phyllis Diller. And,
Okay, so quick Bob Hope.
oh, and
Okay,
Alan Thicke there.
Karen Kilgariff, Alan Thicke, Bob, Phyllis Diller.
That is Karen.
Oh, far right.
Yep.
Up there is Wayne Cotter, Mark Pitta, the great Karen Meany,
That's not right.
Susan Kolinsky, and Margaret Smith. And we are in Toluca Lake, where Bob Hope lived.
Yeah, it's
when
wild.
you did the young comedian special, which I did when I was a young 35, you get to do
you look
press.
great, by the way. You should stop on that. You look great.
I look,
Stop all that.
I take CBD oil. No,
You almost went CDC.
I was
That's a whole different thing.
CBS oil, which gives you a sitcom for 5 weeks. No, anyway, you get to do press at Bob Hope's house. So you're outside in his backyard where he has a hole set up, a golf hole.
Oh, cool.
And I don't golf, so people were doing that. So I ended up standing next to Bob Hope with my Nikon camera, and he looked at it, he goes, "Oh, that's pretty fancy. You know how to use one of those things." And it was almost like he was saying, "Joey Heatherton's out there now."
Yeah, yeah.
He did it in the Bob
Little
Hope
banter.
voice, so it was cool. We lost Kevin Meany a couple of years ago, which was
Yeah.
shocking.
That's
and,
not right.
Oh, it really isn't.
That's not right.
And,
good guy. Really good guy.
So last year I accepted an award at the Legionnaires of Laughter, which was the first year. Jerry Lewis created this thing. He wanted to leave something for comedians because we never get awards. We only get the Mark Twain Award. So he wanted to leave something to acknowledge comedians.
Okay.
So you get a nice little medallion. But he was so affected by Robin Williams' death that he wanted to call the Lifetime Achievement Award the Robin Williams Lifetime Achievement. So whoever wins that has Robin's name on it. Well, I did due diligence. I talked to 2 ex-wives, 2 kids, assistant, best friend, Bobcat Goldthwait. No one could go to New York to accept the award. So I felt, okay, I'll go because I did my due diligence. And I hadn't talked about Robin on stage for 2 years, and I was not emotionally prepared.
Oh, wow.
And what do they show on the monitors before they bring me out? They show an in memoriam, and Kevin's face appears, and I'm already sensitive about that.
And that one wasn't even on your thought process.
No.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm just thrown as a blind side. David Feldman, I invited. David Feldman's a great comedian, writer, won Emmys for writing for Dennis Miller. He has a podcast. And he was with me. He's very cynical. And they show Kevin Meaney, and you know, David's from San Francisco too. We started there, and we're like, I mean, tears are rolling down my face. And I turned to David. I go, David, I'm gonna lose it up there. And he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he goes, you are gonna bomb. And that loosened me up enough to talk about it on stage, but that was not a good time.
Holy
Hey,
crap.
frazzle them right before they go out. All right, now we're going crazy. So let's get
Let's go to the Robin photo. There's Robin and I having dinner. My favorite story. This wasn't the moment it happened.
You guys
but-
look great there, by
Yeah.
the way. You can see that there's a friendship there.
Well,
Very
I have
sweet.
my hand.
Seriously.
No.
Yeah.
What's funny though is we were having. It was after the show. There was some comedians at the table, and we're having. He had like a cup of coffee, and I had like a dessert, and my friend had a salad or anyway. So very small bill comes, right, and he grabs it. I go, Robin, you don't have to pay for my food,
Right.
and he goes, no, I've made money with the movies I've made, and he sees how small the bill was. He goes, oh, this will be on Bicentennial Man.
Ah, good. That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's my favorite story.
All right. let's
Anyway,
see.
is that it? I think that's it for the photos. Unless we have another one. Oh, Marty Allen. I got another guy who was doing comedy in his 90s. And we lost Marty last year.
And then one more.
Wait a minute. I got my
sorry. All right,
my
Marty
Marty
Allen.
Allen story is he's great, by the way. I had dinner. I was playing in Vegas with Dana Carvey, and it was my birthday, and Marty wanted to take me to lunch. And his wife, Karen, come, and Dana and I are there. And he has a walker, or he has a cane. And how can I do this? Can I do this wide?
Sure.
Okay, so he has a cane, and he walks up. We're at the table. He walks up and he throws his cane down. He goes, "I can walk!" So he is doing bits right from the get-go. He has not stopped. But I worked with him on a cruise ship once, and a woman stops him. She goes, "Are you Jackie Mason?" And he goes,
Oh, my
and
God.
He turns to me. He goes, "Do I look that fucking bad?"
I know. Picture.
No, Dr. Mason. Nope. But
Oh, yeah. I know. I get it, though. I get it.
Marty was fantastic. And the next one, George
We're talking about
Carlin.
this guy here because people know him.
George, I got when I was doing a TV show in San Francisco where I think I met you, Nicole, there. I'm not sure. It was some junket or some kind of celebrity came in. So George was plugging his book, and he did my show. And I was just the entertainment guy on a live news show. But that night, I got to interview him in front of the JCC, the Jewish Community Center, and it was packed. And it was me being the moderator. Okay. And I got to talk to George Carlin, which I needed no notes for.
No.
Yeah.
But I educated the audience on something. This was my favorite thing to do. I go, when George, you were on the Tonight Show, that's the only place I could see you. So we couldn't go to clubs. I was too young. So your albums were uncensored. That's where we got to hear you. So your albums were very important. So I made the audience listen to a cut of one of his albums. So I had like 300 people like this listening. And it was a joke about masturbation. And where George said, I never thought of movie stars when I jerked off. I always thought of real people because it's like maybe that could happen. And I've been talking to my high school friend. Did you ever do Betty Ryan? You know, and George starts laughing at it because he forgot the bit. But he was so honest in the interview. He goes, when I hosted the Tonight Show, he goes, I was hosting it all coked up and my guest was on acid. It was David Carradine. And I would ask a question and he would answer them out of order. Like, what's your favorite color? He goes, Pontiac. What's your favorite car? Blue. He would do that. And, he was very honest about it.
Holy smokes. That must
Very
have been
honest
training.
about
Let's
it.
find that one to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how you go on YouTube and George is this if he's talking about today because he was that prolific and that on the money.
Yeah. He was connected.
Scary. Yeah.
He was connected.
But he was great because he signed my book, Mark, Get Fucked, which he said was a positive.
Really?
We'll get fucked. Go have sex.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, George Carlin.
Anyway.
He's awesome.
This was a delight.
Mark.
Oh.
You are a delight. I hope that you did have fun.
I
hope
did
that
have
you
fun.
Do come back.
This happens, I could tell these stories all the time. I just love celebrity stories, celebrity encounters.
Do you find? Are you able to have these talk conversations with other people?
When I ran the theater, or my show at that, I didn't run the theater. I ran one night at the theater. I would book all my friends, and it was like the old days.
So you guys would
we
have
had to
all
hang
the
out.
conversations.
That's what I miss most. I don't get to hang with those people anymore. Or booked. I felt good that I got my friends' work. I haven't seen Richard Lewis in a couple years now because we don't do that. I had a real bad time recently with not being jazzed about going on stage. 38 years, I'm like, God, I need something. I need something to challenge me. I think David Chappelle said the first line in his special was like, I don't know why I'm doing that. I know this is so easy for me. I go, it gets so ezy, then it gets to be a job. And I call, not many people call Richard Lewis for advice. And the first thing he said out of his mouth helped me. I said, Richard, I'm not, I got a show tonight. I don't even want to go on stage. And he goes, you have nothing to prove. He goes, you're funny. If they're not laughing, forget. They go, you have nothing to prove. You don't have to be on the money tonight. So it helped me out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Takes
And
the
it
pressure
really
off.
isn't, because we do.
Just a perspective shift.
Audiences don't like to hear that a comedian's bored with being a comedian because we have to make it look like it just happened. But it's like that's why Brando wouldn't do plays anymore. I can't say those same words every night.
You're talking to a guy who sits here every day. I totally get it.
But you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I wouldn't out of respect for you and other people.
Oh, but if you have if that joke works, I have to say that joke exactly that way again because then you lose why it's
you're
funny.
Just talking about the repetitive nature of I've
Right.
done this material. I fucking milked it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So and
Well,
that's
those are your
why.
own demons to work out, Mark Pitta.
Okay, you're right.
I've already thanked you.
You're right.
Your appearance here was great. Let's not bring it down.
Well, obviously, we will do some post.
No.
None of that. This is it.
Post time.
That's it. Mrs. Ryan, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. That's what's
Same.
going on tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Friday, we've got Breakfast Club up at Newcomb's Ranch. They open at 9 o'clock. Come on up. It's going to be a really big one, though, because Auto Kennel is doing their big Orange County rally, and they're coming up as well. So
cool.
if you're coming from down there, connect with connect with Behind the Orange Curtain. Connect with Paul Kramer over there at Auto Kennel and get in on that. It's not like a cost thing or anything. You just let them know and you meet up and the whole thing. And then we'll see you at Breakfast Club. I think they're getting there around 9:30 or so. So it should be pretty cool.
That'll be really fun. I'm so stoked to see everyone.
Yeah, and then a big weekend of, I think there's some stuff, but whatever. We'll deal with it. We'll see everybody next week.
Cool.
Mark Pitta, you are awesome. Thank you so much for coming here and doing this. It was really fun for me to
Really fun.
actually have these talk conversations that I can't have with other people.
What do you have? Do you have anything coming up?
Tell us what's so sorry, Mark Pitta. How can people find you, and what do you have coming up?
This weekend, I'll be at the Irvine Improv with Rob Schneider. The shows are sold out, so we might add some.
Cool.
So call them.
That's a good problem. Happy
and then
Thanksgiving.
the day after that, I'm actually spending Thanksgiving at Rob's house.
Oh.
I for some reason I thought we were working on Thursday, and I'm like, oh, I have nowhere to be on Thanksgiving. So I texted Rob. I go, should I come over and spend Thanksgiving with you because I have nowhere to go? Should I do that? And he goes, you're more than welcome. And his wife is Spanish. So I go, I'm preparing to visit you by listening to the TV with the SAP audio. And he wrote back everything in Spanish to me. But Rob and I are playing Irvine Improv. Then Sunday after that, so Monday the 26th through the 2nd, I'm at the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And on the weekend, though, I only do one show because Andrew Dice Clay does the second show. So that's kind of cool. I haven't seen him in A Star Is Born. Is he good?
I haven't seen the movie.
Okay.
Everyone says it's good.
Okay.
Heard great things.
He's good as an actor almost always, though. I like him in almost everything.
Yeah, I saw him in Vinyl. He was very good in that.
He was on, I think, like Entourage or something. I mean, playing
Yeah.
himself even. He's
Right.
The thing people don't really get about him is he's so effing honest.
And I think
he's such a good, honest person.
I think he's a nice guy, too.
That's what I mean. He's a good person, and he's very, like, he's not the guy.
I never met him.
Because of that, I think that, whatever.
I never met him, but
I'm a fan.
last time I was in L.A., I'm walking down the street with my friend Robin on Ventura, and he was sitting there having coffee with somebody. I said, hey, Andrew, I'm a comic. I know Harry Basil. He books me at the Tropicana. I'll see you on karaoke night because we do karaoke on Fridays. And so that's all. Now I'm going to be working with him without knowing that
That's
I was
gonna be
going to
awesome.
meet him.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
You're gonna have fun. All
I'm
right.
excited for you.
Great trips. How do people find you? Are you on social media or any of that stuff? Or
You know,
do you have a
I just
website?
like people to send them to my YouTube channel because I like what I put up there.
Great.
And I just got rid of my website. It's like a shingle in a ghost town.
Don't worry about it. No explanations. So
Yeah,
what is it? Just your name? YouTube. Blah,
Yeah,
blah,
Mark
blah,
Pitta.
at your name?
Yeah, and subscribe. I have a new series I just
Please like and
created.
subscribe.
You'll like it.
What is it?
I bought a really expensive camera and I bought a backdrop, and I'm starting to interview myself because I go, I'm going to lose these memories someday of all this stuff. So I'm just calling it soft focus because that's what I have. And I do it by myself. So I had no cameraman, and I focused on the backdrop. So when I sit in front of it, I'm slightly soft focus, which makes me look younger. But that's why I call it soft focus. But I just have some like 1 or 2 minute memories of stand up somewhere like this. Because I'll forget this, but this is on YouTube, so those stories I don't have to tell.
All right. We love you. You're awesome, Mrs. Ryan. I love you. We love all of you at home. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you Friday, etc. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Hal.
Thanks, Hal.
Well, also you said Steve Allen and Ernie Kovacs, and that's what Letterman was really.
Ernie Kovacs for sure. Yeah.